Well, good morning again. How many times have you said, "I'll believe it when I see it"? We've all said that, haven't we? Skeptic that I am, I say it a lot. I'll believe it when I see it. I think the world makes us a bit jaded, unable to believe in something that we can't see, that we can't feel, that we can't touch. And we've been let down too many times. We felt lied to, and oftentimes by people in public offices that we should be able to trust. And so we're skeptical, like Thomas in today's gospel. I've always identified with the disciple Thomas, doubting Thomas, questioning Thomas. I'll believe it when I see it, Thomas. On the day that Jesus rose from the dead, he came and stood among his disciples. They were naturally confused and afraid, and they had locked themselves in a house. And Jesus comes among them and he says, "Peace be with you." But on that day, at that moment, Thomas wasn't there. And when the other disciples had told Thomas what had happened, he didn't believe them. And to be honest, well, why would he? And a week passes, and Jesus again visits his disciples at that house. And again, he says to them, "Peace be with you." But this time, Thomas was with them at the house. And Jesus says to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas now sees, and he now believes. But it's what Jesus says next that stands out to me. He says to Thomas, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." Now, Jesus' words to Thomas make me think of a beautiful line from the movie The Polar Express, when the conductor says to the boy, "Seeing is believing, but sometimes the most real things in the world are the things that we can't see." Now, because I'm a skeptic, as I've admitted to you all, like Thomas, I'll admit that line, even though it's meaningful and poignant, it often sounds trite to me. It sounds a bit too simplistic, like seeing is believing or believing is seeing. And yes, I think that the disciple Thomas would have scoffed at a line like that too. But what if, for the sake of optimism and keeping an open mind, what if believing is seeing? What if there's a holiness and a power to belief that transcends the limits of what we can only see? And even though I'm often a skeptic, I do deep down think that believing is seeing. I do believe that we have limits to what we can see, and I think that sometimes the goal in life is to be able to see with the eyes of faith, to see beyond what is immediately in front of us, to see beyond what is certain maybe, and to believe in something beyond it, to believe and to have faith in something beyond only what we can see. And to that point, I'd like to share with you, if I may, a part of a sermon, a very poignant part of a sermon from the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He gave a sermon in November of 1967 called "But If Not." And in this sermon, Martin Luther King describes what he calls an if faith and a though faith. Let's take a look.
You see, there is what you may call an if faith, and there is a though faith. And the permanent faith, the lasting, the powerful faith is the though faith. Now the if faith says if all goes well, if life is hopeful, prosperous and happy, if I don't have to go to jail, if I don't have to face the agonies and burdens of life, if I'm not ever called bad names because of taking a stand that I feel that I must take, if none of these things happen, then I'll have faith in God. Then I'll be all right. That's the if faith. You know, a lot of people have the if faith. Jacob found himself in that dilemma once, and his faith was contingent on an if. And he said, now, if God will be with me, and if he will keep me in this way that I go, and if God will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. That's the if faith. Jacob hadn't quite gotten to the essence of religion. There is a though faith, though. And the though faith says, though things go wrong, though evil is temporarily triumphant, though sickness comes and the cross looms, nevertheless, I'm going to believe anyway, and I'm going to have faith anyway. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, the Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. And old Job got to that point, and he had a though faith.
An if faith and a though faith. And I want to say again the words that King spoke, because they become so deeply meaningful to me. He said, now the if faith says, if all goes well, if life is hopeful, prosperous, and happy, if I don't have to go to jail, if I don't have to face the agonies and burdens of life, then I'll have faith in God. The though faith says, though things go wrong, though evil is temporarily triumphant, though sickness comes and the cross looms, nevertheless, I'm going to believe anyway, and I'm going to have faith anyway. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. In this gospel today, the disciple Thomas had an if faith. If he could see the scar in Jesus' hands and the wound in his side, then he'd believe. Then he'd fully commit to this faith that he had claimed. But Thomas, the one who needed to see in order to believe, he was being called to a though faith. He was being asked by Jesus to believe even though he couldn't always see. He was being asked to have eyes of faith, to believe in a power that transcends sight. And why? Why was Thomas being called to a though faith? Why are we today called to a though faith? Because sight will too often fail us. Sight isn't enough when the pains and the trials of this world weigh heavy upon us. Because we can see all of that, can't we? We can see the pain. We can feel the hurt. We know what it means to feel lost and burdened. The dilemma is that sight doesn't allow us to see beyond the pain. And so we need something deeper, I think, that can sustain us. We need faith. We need trust. We need belief. We need a faith that says, though everything around me doesn't always make sense, though I feel alone, though at times I ache with hopelessness and doubt, nevertheless, I will believe and I will trust in my God. We get no promises from God for an easy life. We all know that. But what we get is faith. We get the power of God, the Spirit of God, to accompany us and to help us sustain. Even though burdens come and life is not always what we expect it and hope it will be. The resurrection is about believing that God can make possible what seems impossible. And this faith that we claim isn't about seeing and feeling. It's about trusting when we can't see. The faith that we claim is about trusting in God when we can't see, when the road seems uncertain, when burdens and trials weigh heavy on us. Through doubt, through pain, through despair, through sadness. Even though the world is not as it should be. A though faith. And that is, I think, the true test of faith. Believing when we can't see. Believing when we're not sure. Believing when the road ahead is uncertain. But we claim this faith today because we believe that it will sustain us and that it will not let us down. Amen.